Good afternoon, dear students. I welcome you on behalf of our NTCC High School family for our online lecture. Today, we are going to do a poem number 28, The Elf Singing by William Allingham. This poem is from your Bal Bharati textbook, Unit 4. Page number 66 and 67. So first I'll read this poem to you and I will explain at the same time. The elf singing. What do you mean by this word elf? Children, elf is an imaginary being. Okay, it's an imaginary creature with magical powers. Like how we have fairies, that way we have elf. So the first stanza, it says, an elf sat on a twig. Twig is a small shoot or branch, usually without its leaves. I repeat, twig, a small shoot or branch, usually without its leaves. He was not very big. So this elf, who's this imaginary creature, he sat on a twig and he was not very big. He sang a little song. He did not think it wrong. So when he sat on the twig, he was not very big. So he sang a little song and he did not think it wrong. But he was on a wizard's ground. A wizard is a man who has magical powers, who hated all sweet sound. Now you see here, this is the elf who's sitting on a twig, okay? And he sang a little song and he did not think that it was wrong to sing, correct? You don't have to feel guilty when you're singing, because when you are happy, when you're sad, you want to sing the song. But he was on a wizard's ground, means this place belonged to the wizard. And this wizard, he hated all sweet sound. Elf, elf, take care of yourself. He's coming behind you to seize you and bind you and stifle your song. So here it says that elf, elf, you better take care of yourself. He's coming behind you. Who's coming behind you? The wizard. To seize you and bind you. Seize you means to take hold of suddenly and forcibly. Means to just grab you. To bind you means to tie you. And stifle your song and to stop you singing. So the wizard, because he did not like this song, right? He did not like any sweet sound. So they are warning that elf, elf, you have to take care of yourself. He's coming behind you to seize you and bind you and stifle your song. So this is the wizard. You can see how dangerous this wizard looks, isn't it? And this elf is poor little, tiny little elf, isn't it? Third stanza. The wizard, he changes his shape in crawling along an ugly old ape, a poisonous lizard. Now since this wizard has a magical power, he can take any form. So he changes his shape in crawling along an ugly old ape. Ape is a big monkey. You must have seen that movie, like that. You have seen gorillas. So those are those big monkeys. So it can turn into an ugly old ape or even a poisonous lizard. See, this is the ugly old ape. Okay, the wizard has changed its form into the ugly old ape. And this is the poisonous lizard. Can you see? All these forms this wizard has changed. Next stanza. A spotted spider, a wormy glider. The wizard, he's up on the bow. He'll bite through your gizzard. He's close to you now. A spotted spider. See, now he's changed the shape to the spotted spider. This is a spider that has spots. A wormy glider. Now this is a worm. Now the glider is an aeroplane, okay, that moves very quick. So this worm is also moving very quick. The wizard, he's up on the bough. Bough is a main branch of a tree. He'll bite through your gizzard. Gizzard means a part of a bird's stomach. Gizzard means a part of a bird's stomach. He's close to you now. So the wizard is close to the elf. So if you see over here, the wizard has taken the form of the ugly old ape. Then it changed its shape into a poisonous lizard. Then it changed its shape to a spotted spider. Then finally it became a wormy glider. So how many forms did it change? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So because he had all the magical powers, children. That is the reason why it could change so many forms. And this poor little elf was not bothered because he was in his own world. He was just singing the song and continues to enjoy the song. And now he's close to the elf. Let's see what happens further. The elf went on with his song. It grew more clear and strong. It lifted him into air. He floated singing away with rainbows in his hair. Now the elf was very happy, isn't it? He was busy singing his song and it grew more clear and strong. So you see, it grew more clear and strong. It got its wings also. So it was just enjoying singing. And it lifted him into air. So he started flying. He floated singing away. So he was singing and he was floating in the sky with rainbows in his hair. So there were all different kinds of colors of hair that he had. Okay. What colors? Rainbows in his hair. While the wizard worm from his creep. Creep means to move slowly and carefully in order to avoid being heard or noticed. Okay. It's like when you can see any insects, they are crawling on the floor, on the ground. You know, they just sneak slowly. So they are creeping. They're crawling and moving slowly. Made a sudden leap. Leap means to jump high. Fell down into a hole. And his magic word he could say was eaten up by a mole. So while the wizard worm from his creep, now as he was a worm, right, he was going to creep, correct? Means he was moving slowly. Suddenly he took a high jump. Leap is a high jump. And he fell down into a hole. You can see he fell down into a hole. And his magic word he could say. So before he could say the magic word, he was eaten up by a mole. This is a mole. What is a mole? A mole is a small, dark, furry animal. Okay? It's a small, dark, furry animal. And this means before in time. So he fell into the hole, right? So before he could say that magic word, before the time, he was eaten up by the mole. So the wizard was eaten up by the mole. That was the end of this poem. I will read this poem once again to you so that you understand, and you have to also read the poem aloud. Poem number 28, The Elf Singing, by William Allingham. An elf sat on a twig. He was not very big. He sang a little song. He did not think it wrong. But he was on a wizard's ground, who hated all sweet sound. Elf, elf, take care of yourself. He's coming behind you to seize you and bind you and stifle your song. The wizard, he changes his shape in crawling along, an ugly old ape, a poisonous lizard, a spotted spider, a wormy glider. The wizard, he's up on the bow. He'll bite through your gizzard. He's close to you now. The elf went on with his song. It grew more clear and strong. It lifted him into air. He floated singing away with rainbows in his hair. While the wizard worm from his creep made a sudden leap, fell down into a hole, and ere his magic word he could say, was eaten up by a mole. Now here I have given you some homework that you have to do in your homework book. First is the reading part. You have to read the poem aloud. Read the poem aloud. Second homework is write the pairs of rhyming words you find in this poem. Okay, so you have to write the pairs of rhyming words you find in this poem. Like for example, twig, big, song, wrong, ground, sound. These are all rhyming words, right? So you have to find these rhyming words and write it in your homework book. The third homework that you have to do is complete the following in your own words. There is A, B, C, D, E, F. The elf could sit on a twig because he was not very big. You have to read this poem aloud and find these answers. I want you to write this in your homework book, children. Okay? I'll be sharing this poem with you. See that you do what has to be done. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless you all, children. Take care.